Right, good afternoon, everyone. This is the Senderos and Polar Latitudes webinar that I am, well, just introducing, but Conny Bartl, who is here for Polar Latitudes, will be presenting to you. Thanks for joining us. So it'll be, as always, about a 30-minute presentation with time for questions for Conny at the end, or you can pop them in the chat box, as always, and we can either answer them as we go along. Or address them at the end as well, and we can have a bit of a chat. As I just said, many of you may already know Connie because she has visited us here in the UK several times, and seen you guys at events and things like that. She is our face of Polar Latitudes, and she's really unique in the industry, really, of Antarctica because she actually spends quite a lot of the season out in Antarctica on quite a few of the voyages, being the passenger service manager, which is amazing because she gets that personal experience renewed every season, as well as kind of having that strong contact with tour operators. As many of you know, Polar Latitudes is a small company that is just focused on Antarctica, with incredible amount of experience, years and years of wealth of experience. And amazing news that just came out recently is that John McKeon, the founder and president and CEO, he has been made chairman of IATO, which we're really kind of pleased with and proud of, because it only goes to show his commitment to kind of managing kind of travel to the region and preserving kind of the pristine nature of Antarctica, but also bringing people there and showing them this and kind of being an ambassador for travel to Antarctica, which is really cool. I'm going to hand over to you now, Connie, to present Polar Latitudes and the Seaventure, what you have to offer, what kind of experiences you have on board, and all of that.
Thanks, Nick. I think you should just keep going. You're
That's
really
all
good
right.
at
I'm
this.
happy to hand over.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining this afternoon. It's morning for me, but I'm hopefully awake enough. So just a little bit more background on just on me. So this weird English accent is sort of a mix between German and then various English accents. So I'm German, currently live in Canada, but I'm married to a Kiwi. So it's just a weird mix. Hopefully you can understand me. If you don't, just let me know and I will rephrase. And as Nick mentioned already, I'm lucky because I do spend a good chunk of our Antarctic season actually working on board as part of the expedition team. So I can usually answer all these little more detailed operational questions at any point as well. My journey kind of started when I was a passenger, actually, and that was now 8 years ago. Together with my mom, I was more in a corporate career at that time, and then I visited this absolutely incredible place, and I saw the expedition team and the passion and the enthusiasm that they had for their job, and yeah, I just needed to change something in my life. So then I did all of my qualifications, and a year later I started working on board. So that's kind of how I ended up with Polar Latitudes. And I'm lucky because then the rest of the year I can talk about this incredible place and this wonderful little company that we have. And with that, Nick, can you see the screen? Thumbs
Yes,
up?
that's all
Yes.
good.
Okay,
Thanks, Connie.
perfect. All right, I'm just gonna jump in. Again, some of you will already have a lot of Antarctica experience, but I will probably touch on a few things like the seasons and stuff like that, just as a little reminder. But first of all, what makes Polar Latitude special? So there's a few things. One is that we're the only operator that literally only specializes in Antarctica. So 365 days a year, we live and breathe that destination. We are also founder and owner operated, and that means that we don't have a big hedge fund behind us. We have literally 4 owners. They have been part of the polar industry for, I think, over 30 years each. And all 4 of them are super hands-on in the business. So it does feel almost like a family-run company. As Nick mentioned, John, our CEO, he's incredible. So he comes also down to the ship. He works, he's a certified guide, Zodiac driver. So he just gets his hands dirty with the operation as well. And again, it's almost like this fact checking, is it actually what we promise delivered on board, right? And, so things that we want to improve on, or feedback that we hear from passengers on board, we can then implement, because again, it's such a small company and we constantly sort of tweak things to make them more perfect. So it's wonderful and very special to us. Citizen science is a huge topic for us. I will touch on that a little bit later. And yeah, the focus that we have is truly the destination. And especially over the last 3 to 4 years, I have personally seen this change in Antarctica with all these big ships arriving, bigger ships, more luxurious ships. Very different to when I started, 8, 9 years ago. And that is perfectly fine, because the demographic that is traveling is changing. You now have more sort of cruise type clients that just want the onboard experience and have the side of Antarctica, which is perfect for those ships. But we still really have that niche where we say, yep, we have the perfect ship to get you there. But for us, it's actually all about getting people off the ship, getting people really immersed in Antarctica. So that is, sort of where we come in and where we fit in. Again, not everyone is our perfect client. But if you have clients that really want to learn about the destination, that really want to embrace every moment that they have, then we're the perfect operator for that. Again, the ship is absolutely brilliant for us. Seaventure, she has the highest ice class. She's actually built for the ice. So the Germans amongst you guys know the ship probably as MS Bremen. So Hapag-Lloyd has operated the ship in the polar region for many years. And we're very lucky to have her, because again, she suits our operation absolutely perfectly. Again, you can see in this picture, just going through this early season sea ice. A lot of other ships without that highest ice class, they would not even go anywhere near these kind of, bays. But again, especially early season, or going further south, or exploring into the Weddell Sea that is often iced in, it's just wonderful. And it just suits our operations so well. The other thing is, it's a sturdy ship, built in Japan, really stable. I've been through the Drake on various other ships. This one is by far the most stable, good stabilizers. And then she's small. She's 138 people maximum, and we have 14 Zodiacs. So you can do the math. Basically, the way we cap, because the ship can actually take over 160 people, but we cap it at less than 140, because we want to get people off the ship at the same time. So we have 14 Zodiacs, 14 Zodiac drivers, and less than 140 people. So we will always get people off the ship. At the same time, there's no waiting around. So again, that just speaks to just our ethos of operating. And then the ship has these amazing, it's almost like, you know, the ship brings the outdoors in. So we have this presentation lounge with 180-degree view windows. We have one restaurant, and on both sides are big bay windows. So at any time, even if you're inside, you always see this icy world kind of, you know, go by on the outside. And then one thing that I really love about this ship is that we have this viewing platform um, on deck 5. So you can see that here. It's a wraparound deck. And let me tell you, when there is whales or other wildlife viewings, maybe orcas, you want to be as close to the water as possible. And this ship enables that. Whereas a lot of the newer ships, the X-bow ships, they're great, but their viewing platform is at the top of their ship. We have that too, but we also have this deck 5, you know, viewing platform, and it's just the best, you know, when you're kind of following the orcas around the ship.
That was
So
one of the highlights of my trip in November, actually, Connie. Sorry to interrupt, but that pod of
no.
orcas that we saw, and I think it was one of the first bits of wildlife we saw as well. So it was a pod of
Oh
orcas,
wow.
and so we slowed down, and because they were circling us, and we were like, kept on having go all the way around the ship, and everybody was like, "No, this way, no, this way, come back." But it was great. We got so many sightings of this incredible pod, precisely because we had the space to move around around the
Yeah.
side of the deck.
And you don't exactly, and you don't realize until you're actually on the ship how important this feature is on a ship, on an expedition ship. So I always do like to highlight that. Um, in terms of the cabins, they are, you know, they're very nice. They are very functional, very practical. But, you know, again, we're not one of those ships with, you know, the spa and the butler service. Again, the ship has been super refurbed only a few years ago. It all looks it's a very nice ship, but again, it's not what other ships sort of focus on. So for us, it's about the practicality. And we do have a sauna, we do have a little gym. So those facilities we do have, but again, for us, it's more about, you know, getting people off. In terms of sort of the dining, the way it works, for breakfast and lunch, it's a little bit more casual. It's a breakfast and lunch buffet. There's always live cooking stations as well. They're you know, because again, during those times, it's more about, you know, you eat and then you get off the ship, you get out. Dinner is more of a formal sit down, 5-course degustation. Everyone chats, and how we do it is that we have the guides, the expedition team. We always have them join the guests, and everyone can sit in the restaurant, one seating, everyone can fit. And it's just really nice because, you know, you have these casual conversations with the guides. Really super interesting conversations happen during the meal times, usually a little bit, you know, more of a, you know, bonding happens. It's a sense of camaraderie that really, yeah, develops between the guides and the guests and amongst the guests. It's a really social ship. So that's something that we know it does enrich the experience of the guests. And now I think if you take literally one thing away from this presentation, it's this point, because I cannot stress enough how important this is to understand. So just because you're on a ship in Antarctica doesn't mean that your experience is going to be the same. This is really, really so crucial to understand, because, and it's a little bit difficult, you know, as well, because we all see the same penguins and the same whales and the same icebergs in a way, but there's huge differences between what a passenger can experience on one ship versus the other. And the most important factor is the experience of the expedition team. And here's why. So Antarctica being the way it is, the weather is notorious. It's always changing. There's wind picking up, there's ice moving, so we're constantly changing plans. So we have plan A, and then we go to plan B, and then we go to plan C oftentimes. So we're always rethinking plans, repositioning the ship. And if you don't have an expedition team that has the knowledge of the area, or a team that are strong zodiac drivers. So, like if it's a little bit choppy, you need really good zodiac drivers. If we don't have 14 of them, we would really limit our operation. If we don't have expedition leaders that know possibly, little hidden bays or landing spots that may not be as well known in the area, then we will just basically have to opt to cancel that excursion. And I've seen it happen more and more as the industry is sort of exploding over the last few years. When the weather just isn't perfect, you can see all these other ships kind of floating around, and they just don't know where to go, or they're just not confident to do operations safely in these kind of maybe borderline conditions. So we are so proud. I am so proud to be part of this company, because we have on average, we have 13 years of experience within the team. Our least experienced expedition leader has 9 years of leading in Antarctica. Hannah, who's our most experienced expedition leader, I think she has over 25 years of experience. So again, the wealth of knowledge just means that you basically get people off the ship. And we have 20 staff. So that also, again, is by far, I would believe that is the best in the industry. So we have less than 140 people and 20 expedition staff. And it just means that we have enough people there to have different hikes, to extend the excursions, to extend the opportunities that we have available when we're off the ship. So on average, we leave the ship 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. Last season, we had landings that lasted up to 5 hours, because we just had a passenger group that just didn't want to get back to the ship. So again, we can do that. And we did the statistics, and when the weather doesn't look good going, according to our plan A, we have a 70% chance that plan B will be successful. So again, this is so crucial. If you have people that really want to make the absolute most of being in this special place, then there is no better company like ours. And for us, again, we don't have the bling, we don't have the ship luxury as other ships may have, with the butlers and the caviar and all of that experience. But our luxury is literally that we try and personalize the experience for as many people as possible. And we can do that because we're small. So, we don't follow rigid time plans. We can constantly improvise. And this example happens all the time, right? We're out, we're just wrapping up a landing, we're heading back to the ship, and then somebody spots humpback whales at the other side of the bay. So, instead of, well, we have to go back, sorry, we just had our landing, we will instead call the ship and say, hey, push back dinner by an hour because we will be late. because we know that our passengers want to be out. They traveled all this way, they spent all this money to have every wildlife encounter, every experience as long and as much as possible, right? And we know that everyone walks onto the ship with slightly different expectations. Some are there for the wildlife, some are there for photography, some are there, to just understand and learn. And we can do that. We will offer different length hikes to cater for different physical abilities. If somebody doesn't want to walk and they just want to Zodiac cruise, we will have a private Zodiac for them, while others are walking up a glacier. We will offer a silent Zodiac cruise option for people who literally just want to, soak up the sound of silence of Antarctica without the little chit chat in the boat. So again, because we have a big team, but we have a small overall group, we can just do this. We can cater to all these different expectations, and that for us literally is our luxury. Now John, he calls these moments magic moments when he talks about them. I think it's a little bit cheesy, but fine, I'll run with it. It's these moments that stick with people. So Antarctica is obviously one of those destinations that is very, very special. You don't find it anywhere else on this planet. And so naturally, people really, some people get really emotional. It really touches people, these places, right? And when we head back to Ushuaia, when the trip is almost over, we always have conversations with our guests, and we're like, oh, so what was the highlight? What stood out as a special moment, as a special experience? And I have these conversations, with hundreds of people every season. And it's so interesting because when people talk about these moments that, possibly will stick with them for the rest of their lives, that really got under their skin, these moments have one thing in common. And I guarantee you, the common thing is that they never happen on the ship. It's always moments like the first time people step, for example, onto a beach in South Georgia. And then all of a sudden, they're like surrounded by 500,000 king penguins, walking in and out of the water all around them. There's elephant seals fighting right next to them. There's, albatrosses flying over their heads. And you watch people's faces, and it's like almost like their brains are catching up, because they don't actually believe this is reality. Or like in this picture, right? Like this otherworldly landscape. Like you think you arrived on a different planet, and you're in this kayak, and literally all you can hear is just, the water through the pedal, and like the, just sort of the crackling of the ice. Or it's moments like you're in a Zodiac, and then all of a sudden there's a humpback whale that comes up right next to you. And these are moments, again, for us, it is our absolute mission that we want to maximize these moments for people. So the travelers, the clients that appreciate that is their mission, to go and book a trip to Antarctica. Let's have a conversation, because we do everything to seize the opportunities to just extend the time for these moments. So just shifting gears a little bit. sustainability is a big topic these days, right? And it's difficult in Antarctica. But for us, it's really about education. We want people walking away from their trip having learned something. So this is really, really important. So our education program runs throughout the voyage. So different topics, there's lectures all throughout the different days. But we don't hire general naturalists. We actually hire people for certain positions. So, for example, your onboard ornithologist will have a background in ornithology. Your onboard marine mammal specialist will have studied marine biology. So we do have, and that just means it elevates the education program. That's not to say that they're gonna, talk about academic papers or anything like that, but it just gives the chance for guests to have a more educated discussion, follow-up discussion. You can dive deeper into certain topics with the guides. But then taking it one step further is where citizen science comes in. It was actually pioneered on a Polar Latitudes trip over 10 years ago with Polar Latitudes guides. And thankfully, the industry as a whole is slowly adopting it because everyone is realizing that we have a responsibility to give back to these regions that we're visiting, right? But what it means for guests is that they have a chance to be part of actual real meaningful science. So we have different projects that run on board, and people can sign up or just participate in as many projects as many times as they wish, or just on select topics. But it's small groups, and the guides are trained to collect data for research institutions or scientists that we partner with. So again, it takes the education program to a next level, really. So, people are actively engaged in, getting to the bottom of, what's happening, how Antarctica is changing, what is changing. And we have a small research lab where we do, some sample analysis. And it's just really engaging and really enriching for people that just want to go that step further, which is great. And then almost like every other operator, we also offer adventure options. So there's the kayaking. We have listened to feedback a few seasons ago where we only had one program, the immersive kayaking, where everyone would go out, or have a chance to go out as many times as possible. But some people really just want that one-time experience. They just want to, get a little feel for it. And so now we added the Discover Kayaking program. So it's literally just one outing. If you really enjoy it, you can most of the time sign up for a second or third paddle or board. But otherwise, the immersive kayaking program is there for the keen kayakers that just want to take every opportunity to get out in a kayak. So so we have these two programs. They always sell out. So does camping. With camping, we also adjusted slightly. So we used to have tents, and then we introduced a few bivy sacks, and then everyone was fighting to get those bivvies because it's more of an immersive experience when you're crawling into a tent. You could almost be anywhere, right? But then if you're sleeping under the midnight sun or the stars, depending on the season, in a bivvy, it is just incredible. And just again, hearing the glaciers and the penguins, and like, it's just such a wonderful, enriching, add-on experience. In terms of photography, we know that lots and lots of people, that's a main topic when they step on board for them. So we have photo coaches that are there to not only document the entire voyage, so they will also put together a little slideshow that everyone gets at the end on a keepsake, and just take pictures of the experiences, document the days. But they're also there to give advice on how to best capture Antarctica, what camera settings to use. If people have questions about their individual cameras, they're there to help. So that is definitely a position that's always very sought after. And yeah, so in terms of itineraries, we have sort of the more classic Antarctica Peninsula itinerary, and they range between 12 and 15 days. So, the 12 days are really for those people who are short on time. I would always recommend, go as long as possible. The 15-day crossing the circle, it happens later on in the season because early season, the ice isn't broken up enough at, that far south. But if you have a chance to, to go on 15 days, I would always recommend that. We have the all access itinerary, which is a little bit different to the other ones in the sense that it is very active. So basically all of the activities are included in the voyage price. So you have camping, kayaking, snowshoeing, all these different activities. And you basically go out every day, you try something else. So those are running earlier in the season. And then, of course, we have the pinnacle of all of the itineraries, which is Falkland, South Georgia, Antarctica. So 3 weeks, 3 very, very unique destinations. I mean, the Falkland Islands are so different to South Georgia, which is again so different to Antarctica, but they all cater to wildlife and history and just all of these experiences. And yeah, again, if somebody has the right pocket change and time, that's the one 100% to go for. Again, this might be just a little reminder for most people, just quickly touching up on the different seasons. So our season starts pretty early. This year we start October 24th. So very exciting. I'll be working because it's my favorite time of the season. It's basically when Antarctica wakes up again, right? It's all the wildlife is coming back to their breeding grounds. Everything is blanketed in this fresh snow. And of course, the glaciers will always be there, but later on in the season, you may step onto a pebble beach, whereas early season, it's just pristine. It's just so beautiful. There's a lot fewer ships at that time, so a lot of bays are just more, accessible. You can play a lot more. So then high season probably starts mid-December and then runs through to end of January. Here you have up to 22 hours of daylight, which makes it really quite difficult. Usually for me, I have FOMO all the time. So it's like, the ship constantly moves. We always reposition during the night. So when it's 11 o'clock and you have these beautiful icebergs passing by the ship, and there's always something to see and potential whales or, again, orcas or something. And you have to force yourself to go to bed. It's really tough, but it tends to be a little bit warmer then as well. The little penguin chicks, the brushtail families, they hatch around Christmas time. So again, after Christmas and January, you have all these little cute chicks running around, which is a delight to watch. And yeah, the fur seals are crazy in South Georgia at that time. Late season, that's when it's all about the whales. And, you know, again, I always get this question. Of course, you see, you know, whales early season. Of course, you will see penguins late season, but it's just what dominates. And, you know, the whales, it's very funny because people always say, you know, I really wanted to see penguins, but then when they experience being in a zodiac and having these close personal encounters with these gigantic, you know, grand animals, the whales, that is by far always going to be the highlight for them. So again, you have those chances to be in a zodiac with whales late season. That's almost a given, I would say. Late season, again, we go further south. There's, you know, less sea ice, so it's that time for the crossing the circle itineraries. And for photographers, both early and late season are perfect because you have, you know, the soft light and the long shadows of sunrises and sunsets, and it's just perfect. So if you have keen photographers, I would recommend those seasons. Okay, in terms of what we include in our voyage price, so we partner with the Arakur Hotel. It's in this picture. It's in Ushuaia. It's a bit out of town, probably 10 minutes drive, but it's on this hill you can kind of see. And where I'm standing is kind of the Beagle Channel. So you have these amazing views all across Ushuaia and the Beagle Channel, and you can see the ships coming in and out, and it's just fantastic. But you can see here, there's like, you know, this beautiful nature right behind the hotel. There's walking trails. There's actual climbing and hiking for those who really want to stretch their legs before the voyage. But yeah, basically we include the transfer, all the ground transfers. So we pick you up at the airport in Ushuaia, transport you to the hotel where we have 1 or 2 nights. So this coming 24-25 season, we have 2 nights. And then from 25-26, we have 1 pre-night included. And it just kind of settles people into, you know, people get can relax after their flights and, you know, transfers down there. Again, if people want to stay on a few days longer, we can always arrange that as well. But yeah, that's kind of where the voyage starts. And then obviously in terms of on board, there is, you know, food and drinks included. We have and for drinks, I should specify. So for this coming season, 24-25, we still have all alcoholic beverages, including cocktails and spirits. From 25-26, we will have beer and wine included for lunch and dinner. That's usually what we had for many years, and then we trialed the other way, but we're going back to just beer and wine, which is usually very much enough. Then everyone gets an expedition jacket, which means it's an outer shell. It's wind and waterproof. We actually partner with a small sailing company in the UK called Shackleton, very hardcore kind of company. So these jackets retail for, I think, £800. So they're very, very good. I use them for skiing and everything else because they are that good. And then you wear your layers underneath, obviously. We have muck boots on board for the excursions. When you walk on landing sites, they're for guests to have on loan. We do now have Starlink on board. We don't broadly encourage people to be connected and be online. We still try and encourage people to really switch off. You know, you're going to this incredible place at the end of the earth. You should really kind of switch off from the real world. But, you know, we have kind of realized that some people need to just stay connected. And at least now that's an option, and there's different packages that people can purchase on board if they need more. And yeah, as I mentioned, the keepsake, everyone gets that at the end of the voyage as well. In terms of terms and conditions, so we have an online booking portal that everyone can use. I'll just get to that in the next slide. But then to confirm a booking, it's 20% deposit, and the full payment is due 120 days out. In terms of adventure options, we also require a 20% non-refundable deposit because we had very smart agents in the past that know how very popular these adventure options are, and they just kind of kept holding spots. So we really want to make sure that people who are very serious about camping and kayaking, that they can do that. And trip cancellation charges are just kind of staggered depending on at what point you cancel. And yes, in terms of the actual booking process, so whoever doesn't have a login, just email me, and then I can set you up. So it's on our website. So you have live availability showing for the next 2 seasons. You actually see exactly which cabins are available, not just the general room type or cabin type. You can see what adventure options are still available, and then you can also log in to download itineraries, or I don't know, somebody wants some more information on camping or kayaking, we have beautiful flyers, or you want to entice them with some more images. All of the marketing stuff is also there. And we are, as I mentioned, a small company. We have a really small team on the sales and client services side, but we are very, very quick to respond. So we do work East Coast hours usually, but the sales team is Tim, Lana, myself, and Yo-Yo, and on the customer service team, so those guys, once the booking is in the system, they will service most of that. So all the invoicing and all of that is done by Janice, Mohammed, and Philomena. And again, yeah, we're really responsive. We have live chat. We pick up the phone. We're very good at replying to emails within a couple of hours. So yeah. And then at the very end, I just want to kind of leave a few numbers that will hopefully stick. Again, we only do Antarctica. We do 10 years. We've been doing it for over 10 years. Perfect operations so far. We have a really, really experienced expedition team, which enables us to get off the ship at least 6 hours every day. Of course, if people get cold and, wish to spend more time on board, they can. But again, our focus is to be off in the field. They also enable a amazing success rate when it comes to replanning and repositioning and, just coming up with a different plan, which so often happens in Antarctica. Citizen science, again, super big focus. We have it as an integral part of every single voyage. And yeah, with only 138 guests, it's a really personal, really social, wonderful kind of experience. And I think the last number is the most telling, and that's just our guest feedback. So over all those years, we have a rate of 98%, and those people rate us as excellent. And that's across the operation, the ship, the food, the crew, the expedition team. So yeah, we're really, really proud of that for our little company. And yeah, that's pretty much all I have. It's a lot to take in. But yeah, I'm happy for
That's fantastic. Thanks
questions.
so much, Conny. If anybody would like to show their faces, it'd be nice to see you. But also, we'd love to hear any questions that you might have for Connie or myself before we let you go. Yeah, that was great. I think everything reflected my trip to Antarctica for sure in November, and I would definitely add also that the um, the experience on board was also incredible. Like, we were super comfortable. We didn't have anything, we weren't wanting for anything. The cabins were really spacious. I was there with my partner, who is a photographer and a filmmaker, and we had all of this equipment everywhere. And we didn't feel like we were cramped with it either. There was so much space, and it was really, really comfortable. And as you say, super stable. So, well, Sue from Step said that Hannah is an awesome EL. So you got an endorsement there for Hannah. Conrad says that was very interesting. So that's great. Does anybody have any specific product questions or questions about the itineraries or anything like that? Just trying to think if I can kind of ask anything in the meantime.
Otherwise,
Um,
yeah, if somebody doesn't have an agent login, yeah, either if you have my contacts, just
Well,
email me direct.
yeah, what I'll do is I'll follow up with everybody with an email and the recording, and I'll put your email address in the
Perfect.
email because it would be really good for everyone to have that login. Because yeah, I agree, the agent portal is brilliant. You can download all of the images there as well, and all of the brochures and itineraries, can't you? Which is really, really helpful, and see all the where the cabins all are on the deck too, which is good.
Mm. Yeah, and
Good.
again, if you have specific questions, I'm an ambassador for Antarctica, right? So of course, I would love for people to travel with us, but I do realize again we're not perfect for everyone. So if you have specific questions, I've been in the industry long enough. I've seen most of the ships myself. I know roughly how different companies operate. So if you have specific questions, even about some of the other companies that you would like to bounce off me, I'm happy to give very impartial feedback as well.
Oh,
So
that's
yeah.
that's nice. That's funny. We do have one question come through, which is what would you say
Mhm.
the average age of guests were on the expeditions?
That's a really good, really, really good question. I think we calculated it this last year. It was, I think, end 50s, which is actually quite a bit lower than it used to be. So I would say after the pandemic, there was a big shift. I think a lot of people were kind of like, oh, it's not a destination I want to leave at the to the very end. Who knows what will happen? So I think a lot of younger people started traveling. So we've definitely seen that, and we used to have a seventh continent flag, which we now changed because it's now, I think, continental Antarctic landing or something flag for people to take a picture next to, because we realized that for a lot of people, it's the fifth, the sixth continent, not necessarily the seventh.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that trend has definitely happened.
That yeah, our ship was really young, but we had a group of kind of students who were studying kind of marine biology on board. So that brought the average age quite far down. But
Oh, yeah.
even so, there were a lot of people in their 40s and 50s, I felt. Another question we've got is how do kids react to the cruises, and do you do anything special for them? So this is something you've brought in this year, isn't it? A kind of more awareness that people want to bring their children on board.
Yes. So I would say we don't have anything like for young kids. So our suggested age is 12. We can make exceptions and go down as young as 8. But I have seen the most amazing interaction. Again, especially if it's kids who have traveled a lot with their parents in the past, um, the engagement that they have with the animals, especially, it's like it's no school can teach you that, right? So we really love that. And we do have, like, when we do lectures, we then afterwards we have, you know, the team kind of interact with the kids. We have, you know, questions for the kids. But actually my favorite is when kids are on board, they are actually the ones that they're not afraid to ask the difficult questions. For example, you know, why is there no polar bears in Antarctica? I think it's a perfectly reasonable question, but a lot of people, like a lot of adults, are really self-conscious about asking these questions. And with kids, they just ask, right? And so it's wonderful. It's enriching for everyone. We don't, I mean, we have a library where we have lots of, you know, like games, board games, and you know, we have children's books and stuff like that, but I wouldn't say we're necessarily geared. We're not advertising it as a kids voyage. I do really think they get the most out of it if they are either well traveled or a little bit older.
We had oh, how old was she? 12, 13-year-old on our trip,
Mm.
and she did all of the citizen science programs, which she loved. She got really into that. And then also interviewed the guides separately. And I think that was really
Yeah.
nice. So they do have that really nice interaction with the guides and
Mm.
things as well.
Yeah, we as guides love the kids, so we always
They ask
pay
the
special
good
attention.
questions. Um, okay, just before we go, actually, I did want to mention two special departures that Polar Latitudes have. So the early departure that Connie mentioned, the 24th of October. This is brand new and goes out super early. I'm really jealous of you going on that one because I reckon it's going to be beautiful, so pristine. And you're going to see everything arriving. And the other one is photography immersion. Is that what you've called it? A photography immersion expedition or something like that? It's with a well-known photographer called Amy Vitali, and
Yeah.
that's for people who are particularly interested in getting those winning shots of Antarctica. She'll be on board to help people with that and giving talks and things. So these are two quite cool expeditions they've got going at the beginning of this season. But I'll put links to those in the follow-up as well.
Perfect.
Is there anything else you wanted to add, Connie?
No, just a thanks to you for organizing it and
Oh,
for
that's all right.
sending it around. And yeah, it's I do hope that I'll be in Europe very soon again. Hopefully in July, and it'd be good to just catch up personally with a lot of you again. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay,
it's nice to.
fabulous. Yep. Well, do let us know what those dates are, and we'll be sending out the emails.
Perfect.
All
Thanks, Sue.
right. Thanks, Connie.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.
everybody.
Thank you. See
Bye.
you
Thanks.
soon.
Bye.